PowerPoint. It's got 10 simple rules for you guys to extract more from your database. And I'll chime in with a few notes as we go. So appreciate y'all.
All right. How many of you have an actual database or database? And is that something that you just keep in your brain, or do you have it in computer format? Whatever. Okay, so you got that, right? So how many of you are old enough to remember a comic strip called Peanuts? Snoopy was part of that. Charlie Brown. Who else?
Linus.
Linus. Who else is on the team? Lucy. Pigpen.
Yeah.
Pigpen. Yeah. Pigpen was a good one. And so Linus, what was Linus's thing? What was his thing that he always had to have with him? The blanket. And I don't know. I didn't really watch a whole lot of it or read a whole lot of the thing, but it never seemed like. I mean, the blanket was really important to Linus, but really nothing. It didn't really do much for him, right? I think some of us are like that with our database. Like, we have a database, we talk about it, and whatever. But if you're not doing what you need to do to get it to mobilize, how valuable is it going to be for you? I mean, what do you want out of your database? Referrals. Ben and I were talking. What were we saying was one of the misconceptions we were just talking about?
That somebody has to buy a house for you to be in your database. It has to be a client.
Yeah, so if you guys are my database, what's more important, that you buy homes or sell homes with me, or that you refer me business?
Referrals.
Are you sure? Why is that more important?
Because you might only buy 5 or 6 houses in a lifetime, but you could refer 5 or 6 people a year.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say you could refer one a year. I mean, do you know how many of your clients buy one house a year? And if you have people like that, good for you, but not many. I mean, that's a great client. If they buy one a year, and I mean, you know, if Nate could have a person that took one mortgage a year, I mean, they're going to be a superstar client for you. But that doesn't happen. But how many people know have the ability to refer you at least 1 or 2 deals a year? Pretty much everybody. And whether will they do that, I don't know. So the whole shtick that we're going to try to talk about today is, how do you mobilize people? If they're in your database, just being on the list, is that like magical and all of a sudden something starts to happen? A lot of them, they don't even know that they're in your database, right? You got to do something that's going to get them going. So what's the definition? What would you say the definition of your database or your center of influence? What is a good definition of that?
People that know, like, and trust you.
People that know, like, and trust you, those are 3 very important things. We're missing probably the most important thing at the end of that would be and well refer you business. I'm trying to think of the guy that was like an 80s rock guy that had the hair like yours now. Like an MTV guy. 80s probably. Anyway, I'll think of that later. That's
Dave Coulier.
What's that?
Was that Dave Coulier?
I don't know who that is. So anyway, regardless of what kind of, I mean, I don't have any hair. Look at what I got on my head. So I mean, I shouldn't be making fun of him. What?
Rick Springfield.
Rick Springfield would be a good one.
That's a very similar.
What have we done next month's schedule yet? No. All right. So the first of October we'll have, what does Craig's hair remind you of? For now, we'll go back to the, and it could be different then. So you know, it's going to be a very, very versatile class.
We're going to give them a center part for that front.
Okay, enough about Craig's hair. So, back to database. So, the definition that I like to use, you've heard me say this before at many classes, my database is my sales force. Right? Does that sort of, I mean, what is a sales force supposed to do? Sell. My database is my sales force, right? And I'm the sales manager. So what is the sales manager's job? My job is to educate and motivate you, all the sales force, to sell me to everyone you encounter. Right? So if I could do a good job, if you're my sales force and I could get with you once a week, every Monday morning we met, and you know, we talked, and I tried to tell you what I was looking for and tell you a little bit about my skill set and whatever else, and I'm nice to you, and I gave you a t-shirt and pay for your breakfast and send you out, do you think maybe you'd be motivated to try to sell me to other people? So is that possible? Can you meet with your sales force every week? No, we can't do that. Can you give them a gift every day? You could. It gets very expensive. So you got to do the best you can do, and there's a lot of things around that we're going to be talking about that you need to do. So there's 10 rules. You want to go ahead and put that thing up there? All right. So the first thing you got to do, and if you don't do the first word or first 2 words, then this is probably never going to get going like you want it to go. Now, when we say ask them, can you do that incorrectly? What's the wrong way to be asking for business?
Hey man, you got any referrals for me yet?
Say it again, Larry.
Hey man, do you have any referrals for me yet?
How do you feel about that?
Aggressive.
Yeah, aggressive. What's another?
Not caring.
Annoying, like, what's in that for me? How am I part of this thing? I mean, it's too much. It's over the top. That's being, what do people sometimes refer to car salesmen, maybe realtors? Pushy. Do people like pushy salespeople? For the most part, no. No. So asking too aggressively is not it. So what's the mayor campaign? Anybody ever heard of that? I would hope you have. So the mayor campaign, if you were thinking about, or you or anyone you know is thinking about buying or selling real estate, do you have a realtor you refer them to? That's sort of the level 1. Level 2 is, what's the difference in the level 2 mayor campaign? Am I the realtor you refer them to? Now, do you have to say that? No, but that's a good, we don't like the word script, right? But that's a good dialogue to use to be not pushy, right? Does that sound pushy? It does sound pushy,
No,
Shannon.
I'm agreeing with you, yeah. That is
Shannon's very soft sell. So saying something like that can help get the thing started. I don't know if that's going to offend anyone. What if they say, well, you know what? When I was in Vietnam, a guy carried me out of the jungle after I'd been shot, and I feel like I might owe it to him. He's a realtor now. I think I'm going to use him. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sure it is. In fact, that's great because now you know not to waste your time because he's going with the old army buddy, that saved his life versus somebody else. But if they say, well, no, I really don't have anybody that I prefer them to, then there's an opportunity, right?
Can I add something real quick?
No.
I'm gonna ask that.
I'm on a roll.
If someone tells you they have a realtor in the area, remember you get paid to recruit too. So it's not a bad idea to ask what broker they work at and if you could have an introduction to that realtor. So just keep that in mind as well.
I think sometimes too, it's like if you're an open house or you're working with a realtor, sometimes people say yes because they think they're supposed to say yes. And if you probe a little bit, maybe they're like, well, yeah, I'm not really sure what their name is, but they are. I'm not even sure if it's a man or a woman, but anyway, they probably sometimes don't have a real solid relationship, and you may have some room to work in there if possible. Again, if somebody has a solid relationship, then so be it, and you just say it. You never say, well, if you ever have anybody that referral maybe doesn't line up too well with Uncle Joe or whatever, then I'd be available. So you got to ask. You got to ask. All right. Starting early. So let's say it's a client. When do you start laying the groundwork for referrals? Ben, when do you start laying the groundwork?
Immediately.
What does that mean?
I would say that you need a new addition to the database. Not a client, anybody.
No, let's say you have a referral. I refer you to somebody, and this is the first day you meet them, and you're talking to them. You have your buyer presentation or your listing presentation?
Go through. I like to ask if I get the house and information over with, get the cell number, email, address, etc. Then I ask them that I'd like to add them to the client appreciation program, which usually prompts the question, what is the client appreciation program?
Yeah. So starting early, I think a lot of times we wait too long. What kind of conversations are people likely to have with their friends and coworkers if they're in the market to buy a home? Do you think that ever comes up with anybody at work? And then naturally, who's attracted to those kind of conversations?
Other people.
Other people looking for insight.
Other people that are looking to buy or sell, or in the finance world, maybe there are other people that are looking to refinance, or other people that are looking to do something with a mortgage. You know, if you're having a baby, then all of a sudden it seems like the whole world's having babies because that's just the way of the world. If you're going out to buy a green F-150, then all of a sudden, what do you see driving down the road all the time? Green F-150s. You never even saw them before, but they're there. My wife has one. So, anyway, so if you start this thing early, then you have a chance of not missing out on as many opportunities. And I think if you wait till closing, then you've missed the boat on a lot of the opportunity. Okay? Ben, anything?
No, I think that goes into the second point, educating.
And so what does that mean?
So, to me, when I see educate them, what I think is the classic Buffini dialogue is something along the lines of, well, other realtors spend their time cold calling and door knocking in order to find clients. I spend my time working hard for you. If you're appreciative of the service that I provide, I would appreciate in return any referrals to people looking to buy or sell real estate.
So remember when we said the definition of it, it's to educate. If you're the salesperson, if you're the sales manager, you've got to educate and motivate your salespeople to sell you, right? So the education part has to do with, they need to know what you're doing and what you're looking for. Okay, so if you're a real estate agent and people know you're a real estate agent, do they necessarily know exactly what you're doing? Do they know who you're looking for? So, what are you looking for? Jeff, what are you looking for?
People that are ready to buy or sell a house.
Okay,
Or land.
very good. When I was a member of the BNI, Business Network International, one thing they said was try to be specific sometimes with your ask. And I think it's important to know that you're looking the broad picture for people to know that. Because it sometimes, can it be a better memory activator if you are a little bit more specific? So give me an example of that, and how something might be effective if you ask for something specific. Larry, you look like you've got one ready to go.
I'm trying to wait to see if anybody else is gonna talk.
You just let it go, let it
So,
out.
September's back to school time. If you serve an educator, it's a great opportunity to get on the phone and say, hey, I helped so-and-so at your school, buy and sell a home. I know a lot of y'all are back to school. This month, I've got a teacher appreciation program that I run monthly. Let me know if you'd like anybody to be added into that. It's just part of the service I provide.
Very good. One niche that you see now, like the 55 and over market, you might want to, if you're talking to somebody that's appropriate, say, hey, do you know anybody that's thinking, they've been in their home, the kids have moved away, they may be thinking about, why do we need 5,000 square feet when it's just, my wife and I. Those sorts of things might activate the whole thought of referral and get things going, because they just might know. Do you deal with that? One time, this is crazy. One time back in the day, I sold a young couple a house that was like $55,000. Back in the day, you could do that, right? Even then, that was low end, right? And so I'm going through the database. I get back, like a year later, I call. I'm like, hey, how's the house? Oh, we love it. It's great. So what y'all been doing? Well, we helped our parents move into their house in Windsor Farms over the weekend. I'm like, huh? I'm like, well, you didn't think about calling me? They're like, well, we didn't think you dealt with that price range, right? Cut you to 55K special, right? And so, who's that? I mean, should I be mad at them? No, shame on me, right? And that's usually when you mismanage your database, you get pissed. But if you really look in the mirror, that's who you need to blame. And so that was an example of screwing it up. So you got to let them know what's going on. Now, there's a thing called fire hosing that I'm going to tell you that is probably that some people want to use when they go through this process of educating. And what do you think fire hosing is?
Too much.
Like what?
Like, instead of watering the lawn softly and gently, you're just power washing it off.
Right. So you're saying things like, I'm looking for people that are 20 to 30. I'm looking for people that are 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60, 70, 70 to 80. I'm liking homes in Henrico, New Kent, Albemarle, Botetourt, and just on through the list. And just buying, selling, farms, cornfields, soybeans, wheat, you know, weed, whatever it might be. That was for you, Z. No one. So, you know, you just got, you got to be careful to give it to them in smaller doses. So as you're working with your database, you want to be educating them, but if it's the first day, they don't need to get the whole story, right? You don't give them War and Peace on the first day. You give them a few snippets that they're reacting to, and then next time add on to it. All right, so when you're educating them, one thing you want to be looking for is how well are they receiving this? And how are some people more likely to jump on the referral train than others?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you know who they are?
You can tell, I mean, they're really engaged and they're, you know, shaking their head and nodding along, and then someone who's not is kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, coming around and on to the next thing.
Well, ask questions and be excited for you.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the results will show too if they refer you business. I mean,
That's right. I mean, that's the bottom line. That's where I was going with it, because I've gotten really excited about people that are outgoing and whatever. You remember there was a guy named Chris Torres who we got actually to come into the real estate business, and he was an insurance guy and did real well, whatever. We thought he was going to just, I mean, he blew us away when we interviewed this guy, and yet he couldn't even speak to anybody about selling real estate. And there's some people like that that you might think they're meek and whatever, and they might not refer anybody, yet they could become a great referral source. So here's the bottom line here, you don't know. When you start, you might get excited and that's okay, or you might think, no, not so much. Yet they could turn into something in a matter of time. They might, if you do a good job for them, or you do a good job for one of their friends, or whatever else, they might become raving advocates for you. You just don't know. You just don't know. And then you just, through the period of whatever time it is, a year or so, you may want to reevaluate that and say, hey, they haven't done anything, and even in spite of my best efforts, they're just not getting on board. Okay? Any questions about that? All right, anything else on education?
Just had to be here in 4 Cs.
Right. For a little while this afternoon, or earlier before the class, even though I wrote down 4 C's, I can only think of 3 C's. But thank goodness we've come up with the 4th C. All right, so the 3 C's. So the first one is care. Okay? If I care about you, you might care about me, right? So if I do good things for you, good chances you may consider doing good things for me. Remember too, some people just aren't that good at this, and they may care and they may love you or whatever, they just might not be great referral people. And that's okay, there's all sorts of different kinds of folks. All right, but if we care, and I think that's the nature of this business. Obviously, we all want to get paid, but we want to do the right thing for the clients. And if that's not your game, then take off your red Hometown Road jersey and go get some other color and go work for somebody else. All right? The next, and this is very similar to care, character. So what kind of character, not character like Mickey Mouse, but what kind of character do you want people to perceive that you have?
Credibility, integrity.
Yeah, all those things, right? I mean, if they don't think you're of high character, are they going to want to refer you? Never. Never. So you got to think about that in everything that you do. Because if you do something that's a little shady, does the news travel pretty fast on that? Much faster than if you do something that's a little over and above. Okay? So you have to spend a lot of time in the over and above high character thing before that really starts to spread, but it will spread. And if people perceive you as high character, then they're much more likely.
Well, we're going to talk about, I think the last point, it's the number 10, it's this big time, but you is you are the sales manager of your sales force, of your database. You're the nucleus of your entire network. Like people are hiring you to be led through something. And you need to be perceived that way, and your actions obviously have to prove that.
Yeah. So, character. The next is competency. And in today's world of real estate, I think this is one of the areas where you have a opportunity to leapfrog the competition. What does competency mean?
You know how to do your job well.
You know what you're doing, right? You know what you're doing. And so there's changes that have come down the pipe that some people are a little bit afraid of. They can't really explain. How many people have asked you in the last month, Hey, what's all this stuff that's going on in real estate? You know, I don't really know. I see some on TV. I guess something to do with commission, maybe doing something with a buyer. I don't know. Is that good? You're showing a house. Gosh, what's this thing? I guess that's a door.
Sure.
Yeah. What's that? Is that the water heater or is that R2-D2? Back to Star Wars. You ever heard me give a Star Wars analogy in the class? All right. There's another one. So I mean, if you walk, look, talk, sound, behave like a powerful real estate salesperson, how then will you be perceived? Yeah. If you look like a total idiot and you sound like a total idiot, how will you be perceived? As a total idiot. That's just how it happens. Okay. We'll talk a little bit more about professionalism at the end.
On the competence piece, again, if you don't know more about what you're doing than your client does, there's no reason they're going to pay you to do the job. They're going to pay it like 2.5%, 3%, 6%. You're getting paid a lot of money to buy and sell houses. It's important for you to know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, there's plenty of people obviously that can help you through it at Hometown and for your teams.
Yeah.
I had the funniest thing happen 2 nights ago that had to do with my client, in their very best attempt to figure out whether or not they could get out of their lease, they snapshotted me the part about terminating the lease and sent it to me. And then right under it says, I put it in ChatGPT and it thinks I can get out. I was like, oh my God. I was like, that wasn't, it was too big for that thing.
Yeah, that's it. Consult ChatGPT. I think I'm going to try to go through the remaining years of my career without ever using ChatGPT or whatever.
Second that.
I mean, I'm sure there's a place for that, but it's a good way to start down the train of not being able to think for yourself. So competency. One example of how you could use that, let's say you're going to be talking to somebody who lives in Magnolia Green, right? What could you do to demonstrate some competency to them?
Oh, have you seen the lovely tennis courts?
Yeah. Well, you could just look at some recent sales and say, you know what, I know you live on Magnolia Green Boulevard, you see one right around the corner, went on the market for 500, sold for 550, or whatever it might be. I mean, being able to talk intelligently about some things that they can relate to shows them that you're on top of the game. You know, if you say, well, gee, I played 9 rounds of golf last week and, hung out at the bar and then, felt bad, so I slept for a week after that. They're going to think, well, you're not very confident, you're not very of high character, you don't really care about me. So that's it. So what's the first C?
Care.
Second?
Character.
Character.
Confidence.
Competency. And lastly, confidence. Confidence. Who can decide, I guess, so you can decide whether you care or not and how you demonstrate that. Character, you have a lot to do with that. Competency, you're sort of in charge of that, but confidence, how do you become confident? How many of you are in the business less than a year? So how do you become confident?
Repetition.
Repetition is good.
Practice.
Practice. How else?
Small wins.
Small wins, what do you mean by that?
Small victories. Just if you have a good conversation with someone in your database, just continue to stack those small victories.
I'm also a huge fan of Dean's because I came into the business in 2004 when the market was pretty hot. And I didn't know that I couldn't, and so I did. And I did the fake it till you make it. But I sold 14 houses in my first 7 months because I didn't know I couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking for fake it till you make it. I mean, we're not trying to lie to anyone. We're not trying to BS. Somebody says, how many houses have you sold? If you haven't sold any, then you haven't sold any. But you don't say, well, 15. Yet sometimes if you're confident, that never even comes up. Like if you look the part, if you sound like you know what's going on and whatever else, then if people perceive you as confident, then they're gonna accept you a lot easier than if you're not confident. I mean, people, like Benjamin said, people want to be led in this world. Now, they don't want to be strong-armed, but they want to be led. So, you know, no one wants a person to lead them that doesn't have any confidence. I mean, how many great leaders in history are not confident? Not many. Okay? So, those are the 4 C's. Any questions about that? All right, so how then can you leverage this into motivating your database? What's one thing you can do with those C's yourself? What can you do?
Call them, check on them, see how they're doing, check in with them.
Right, but then specifically, so that's you're showing them that you care.
Right.
Okay. How about character? How do you do that?
Don't do things that you shouldn't do. Like, have them see you doing what you should be doing because that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like,
I think like through testimonials, you can have people, if you've gone over and above and somebody's giving you a testimony about that, make sure you get that out in front of them so they see that you've gone over and above.
I think a big part of the character piece is just show up to work no matter what appointments. If you have no appointments on the calendar, you still show up to work the same way. Mentally, physically, the whole stuff. Like it's like that's Blankey Smith's biggest thing is no matter what, office day, every day.
Yeah.
Weekday.
All right, how about competency? Could any of us improve our competency in the world of real estate? What would be one thing that you could work on? See, what's one thing you work on?
Knowing more my market, what's going on.
So back in the day, I pick on him a lot, but I really do love him. So back in the day, when Z first got here, how many years ago was that?
8.
When it came to speaking the English language, would you give yourself a 1, a 5, or let's go 2, 5, or 10?
I'll go with 2.
2. And so you could have just gone with that, right?
Right.
What did you choose to do instead?
I put my ego aside and listen to everyone else, and then start doing more presentations.
And what was one thing that took really swallowing your pride and had to overcome some fear, and you joined a group that was called
Toastmasters.
Okay, what is Toastmasters? Anybody know what Toastmasters is? What do you do at Toastmasters? Public speaking in front of a group every time. So if you're not very good at that, is it hard to do that? If you're not very good at that and you never do it, are you going to get any better? Okay, so that's the way you can improve your competency. It's not easy. None of this is complicated, but it's not easy either. You understand that?
Claudia joined and she was the new what? Vice President.
Oh, nice!
And Claudia speaks how many languages? 3. So if they ever not liking your speech, just start speaking speak it in German so they don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just look confident and then they'll think, hey, good job. All right. So number 4, ask how you can help them. We talked about the giver's gain philosophy. What does that mean?
Means that the more you check in and see how they're doing, what can you do for them, the more they're going to reciprocate and see how they can.
So like when I said care, if I care about you, you care about me. If I do things for you and try to help you in your business or with whatever else is going on in your life, what might you be likely to do for me? Yeah, you're gonna help. All right. COI events. Are COI events easy to pull off?
Yes.
Depends on the event.
Depends on the event, but they can be. I mean, here's a good one. We got the kegerator coming up on the 16th, 17th. Get there early, maybe get a little bit more beer. But you could, with Hometown, we've got these things going on here out there. You can just turn that into something for your database, your business-to-business networking, or whatever else. That makes it pretty easy. Who here has ever run one outside of Hometown and just done it with their own team or with their own business? Raise your hand so people can see that. All right. It's not necessarily easy. You got to do some planning, right? Costs a little bit of money. Why are we scared to do that? Why do we not do as many as we should?
Judgment. We're afraid of judgment. Nobody.
Yeah, maybe,
Nobody's gonna show up.
sometimes I feel like nobody's gonna show up, right? And yet they show up. What benefit comes from these things?
It's the sheer power of inviting somebody to something with no ask of them back.
Yeah, I think, how many business things that are fun do you get invited to? Like, does your proctologist call you and come over for a barbecue party? Rarely. I mean, does your attorney call you and say, hey, we're having cocktails down at the law firm, want to come on down and get smashed with us? They're not doing that. I mean, this is out of the ordinary, and it's a good thing. And what about the people, like Mike was saying yesterday, if you invite people and they don't come, is there a benefit even still?
Yes.
Yeah, because you still conveyed the care of the whole thing. And then, Denzel, what were you saying about the difference between doing some other things versus COI is what? Other than?
Well, you get people to come to you face to face. I mean, on the technical side of it, with COI events, you get to send emails, send videos, make calls, then hopefully see people there. If they can't attend, it's an easy reason to ask for a coffee appointment or a lunch appointment. It's the whole idea when you go into working your sales force is to make calls to them and then actually go see them face to face. Like, we're always going to be a face to face business in real estate, so it allows you to do that. On a much deeper level with COI events, the people that refer you, they want to feel like they're a part of something a little bit bigger than just being a referral source, than just being a client of yours. Like, sometimes people will refer you because they ran across somebody who's an easy way to refer you, but usually they refer you because they care about your success. This is just a way to get back to it. And when you have COI events, some people have them annually, quarterly, and it all depends on your team and your own individual business. But it shows people that you care about them more than just being a client or a referral source.
All right, the next one, if you can advance that thing. So the next one is give great service. Right, that seems pretty simple. All right. If you give great service, then that really fires up people that may not even be great referrers to refer you. And on the contrary, if you give terrible service, what does that fire people up to do? Or, even worse than nothing, give you bad press. Like, for instance, if you go to the dentist, like if Z refers me to Dr. Rusty Pick, and I go to Dr. Rusty Pick, and the first thing they do is when they start with that thing, jam that sharp thing right through my tongue, like pierced tongue situation. And then like, oh my God, sorry about that. And then they do it again. But when I leave the chair with stitches and whatever else, am I likely to get on the phone and get on Facebook and say, you know what, Dr. Rusty Peck is awesome. Definitely come on down and get your tongue pierced with Dr. Rusty Peck as well. Is that likely to happen? Yet if that person goes over and above and gives me a nice toothbrush and floss and is great with the service and explains exactly what's going on and just, it's a great experience, then what are you likely to do? I'm likely to go back to Z and thank him for that referral, which makes him feel good about it. And then I'm going to tell other people, I'm probably going to get on the Dr. Rusty Pick bandwagon, So if you give great service, and think about it in real estate, you can do the minimum and the deal will probably close, right? Is that going to get people on the referral train? When you go over to show the house, if the trash can is at the end of the driveway that's empty, and you roll that back up to the house, is that a big deal? Is that nice? Is everybody going to do that?
Nope.
If you go and it's this time of year and you're doing an open house and the deck is just covered with leaves, you could just roll with that. What else could you do? Yeah, you can clean that up. They're just little things, and then there's big things too. You just gotta give great service and always think about what else can I do? Is there one little thing more that I could do? And not only for the fact you're going to get some referral, but just to do the right thing. And I think that can pay huge dividends for you, and it might help the chances of the house selling or them getting the house that they want to buy.
Well, obviously, those are great examples of little things you can do to provide a little bit of and we'll get to this too, the unexpected extras. But also keep in mind that it's very difficult getting a real estate business off the ground because you don't have the experience to go off of. You don't have testimonials, you don't have clients that are now referring you. But ultimately, you get to a point where it's a lot easier to recruit to a winning team. And when you provide great service, you're winning. If you provide horrible service, it's pretty difficult to recruit and ask for business to a team that's not doing very well. Just keep that in mind as well, that it is important when you get the opportunity to provide great service.
So the next one's regular contacts, and we've talked about that. You've all heard the things, calls, notes, pop-bys. Ben said the most powerful contact is what form? Face-to-face. Okay. What's probably the second most powerful? Yeah, phone. I think sometimes video can be good. If you send a personal video, that can be pretty good. Then where does it sort of lag off after that? What's the next one?
Emails.
Handwritten note.
Handwritten note. Handwritten note, I mean, I still think handwritten notes, I like the idea of being different, right? So how many handwritten notes did you get in the mail today? In the last 12 days, how many have you got?
30.
Did you read it?
Yep, it's enough.
Whoa.
Appreciate you, bud.
Yeah, man. So it stands out. And are we trying to stand out? How many agents are in the Richmond Association of Realtors? I don't even know what that.
6,500.
I think they're dropping. The number's dropping. It's been as many as what?
Then it was like 75.
Yeesh.
Down.
Yeesh. So when there's low-hanging fruit, what's the correlation of population and RAR to number of easy deals out there? Directly correlated. And when the deals start drying up, what happens to our population of the Richmond Association of Realtors? Yeah, it looks like looks like D-Day, people pulling the chute, going out of the airport. Okay? I don't know where we're going with that. It's a pretty cool analogy. So you have to be in contact with these people if you're doing things that are a little bit different and noticeable, then they're going to remember that. Do you think that sometimes people remember that you're sort of their agent and their person, yet they don't step up because one, they might not think you're still in the business, or number two, they don't think you really need the referrals, or number three, they haven't heard from you in a while. So they take the easy way out. They either don't say anything, like, oh, you should call Jake Sklar. He's my buddy. Let me give you, in fact, I'm going to call him right now and let you talk to him on my phone, right? They could do that, or they could just be like, I guess his family's in the computer business. Real estate's been a little bit dry. Maybe they're back, I haven't heard from him. Maybe he's back in the computer business. Maybe he's working at the pizza place. You know, I mean, people think like that sometimes. They don't know. I mean, what are they supposed to do, right? So you got to have these regular contacts. What are some other ways, calls, notes, pop-bys, lunch, those are pretty, what are some other ways that you might contact people? Any other ways? Yeah, I think social media now is a big way. So just real quick on social media, what are some mistakes that realtors make on social media? We'll talk about some of those.
The only part of the game plan.
Yeah, that being the only part of the game plan. What else can you do on social media that might be
Destroy your character.
Post politics.
Yeah.
Waste time.
Yeah, I think too you can toot your own horn so much on that. I mean, how many of you have realtor friends or whatever it's called on Facebook or Instagram, whatever, and all they're doing is taking glamour shots and just tooting their own horn? Yeah, I think your glamour shots actually look pretty good. Yeah. So what are some things you can do on social media that are not that might set you apart positively and differently than the rest of the pack?
Pictures of the client appreciation.
Yeah, that could be one.
Pictures of appreciation in general, like gratefulness. A lot of people are really drawn to that.
Comment on something their kids are doing.
There we're talking. Make it not about who.
It's
So-
about them.
Make it about them, right? And, you know, if they've done something pretty cool, then react to that. If they've, you know, if something's challenging in their life, react to that. You know, versus, I sold another one today, you know, just bought the Lamborghini. Does anybody really give a damn about that? In fact, what might they feel about that? Yeah. Or, you know what, I hate people with Lamborghinis. I don't know, anybody know anybody who owns a Lamborghini? You do? Good for you. I don't know. Introduce me to someone, maybe I would like them, I don't know.
I think what social media is important. My opinion is that you should have it.
Yeah.
And obviously you have to be careful with what you comment on, what you say, whatever. But as long as you understand the ultimate goal of it is to get voice to voice, face to face. Like that's ultimately what the goal is. Like, yeah, I want people to see us that we're out there, we're doing things, all that kind of stuff. But ultimately the goal is to get on the phone and set a face to face appointment. When it comes to handwritten notes, I think I fell into this trap for a long time. We have to look at handwritten personal notes as an anchor to something, not necessarily a lead generator. Of course, maybe you're going to spend a half a day and you're going to farm a neighborhood and write notes. Like that's a cool thing to do every once in a while, of course. But notes are meant to anchor a relationship. You know, you write a note because of an interaction you had. You write a note because you got a referral. You write a note because you had lunch with somebody, whatever it might be. We look at that as an anchor, not necessarily the actual lead generator.
So once you've got this, once your database is giving you a check plus on all this, then the note, what does the note do?
Seals the deal.
It puts you back to the top of mind. It reminds them of all the things, the character, the competency, all that kind of stuff. Then it goes. If you don't have any checks on these and you send a note, what is it doing?
Not much.
It was a nice gesture, but it's not relating back to referrals or using anything. So you got to be. I think that's a good point.
Well, it's like, you know, when you get after we always say the easiest person to generate a referral from is a happy current client because they're going to go tell all of their friends about it. So if you have a general COI breakfast or lunch or whatever, you're most likely to get referred shortly after that if that person's going to refer you because they're pretty excited about it. A note, like Big Dean said, it reminds you of all of the reasons you just had that interaction with somebody and why you were excited about it.
All right, number 8, become the hub for referrals. So this is critical, okay? And you gotta let people know that when they need something, come through you to get quality help, right? If you can become the hub for referrals, what happens is when they need to use you themselves or when they're gonna, you know, refer somebody to a real estate agent, it's coming to you. So if they'll call you to get a plumber, if they'll call you to get a dentist, if they'll call you to get a painter, if they'll call you for advice on, I mean, anything, then they're more than likely going to call you when it's time to refer their friends or when it's time for them to do business. So how do you let people know that that's what you want them to do? Back to the first thing, you got to ask. You know, up front, you could say, you know, we've been in the business for however long, or if you're brand new to the business, say, you know what, at Hometown, we've been in business now for over 30 years, and over that time, we've worked with a lot of professionals, a lot of people, we've got a lot of resources in the community, in areas that you just wouldn't believe. So when it comes time you need something, just reach out to me, and I bet you I can pair you up with somebody that can really help you.
It goes back to the beginner's game. I mean, you want to be looked at as a resourceful professional.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal here. It's like, yeah, of course, but like, you should get to a point where people know that you are licensed to help them buy and sell real estate, and that we're not going to ask for that. But in the end, I want people calling me because I like being the guy that knows a guy. Like that's my favorite part about the professionals. I like being the guy that knows a guy. It makes me feel good that people look to me for recommendations.
Yeah. So anybody have any good stories with that, or I mean, anybody work with that and try to really develop that? So I'm very excited about it.
I know, I don't know if anybody's ever actually tracked this. I tracked mine for about 2 years, but in the Buffini said that in his real estate career, 40% of his business came from other business partners. And so one year with my coach, we went through, and the only thing I tracked, I think, for 6 months was the amount of referrals I gave out. It was kind of interesting because that's exactly where my focus was. Of course, by giving a referral, it encourages a call, a face-to-face, and all the kind of stuff, like having a client of it. But tracking the referrals I gave out helped me become a more resourceful professional. Might be a simple thing for you guys to consider.
I was in BNI, 2 different BNI groups, going back to probably 2004, and then another referral group after that. So probably 15 years, 17 years of being in referral groups. And the amazing thing that I saw in all the groups that I was in is the people that gave the most business were also the ones that received the most business. So again, this is sort of like that giver's gain philosophy. I led in every one I did. I didn't always get the most business, but I always gave the most business. I thought about every meeting that I had. I said, I've got to give a referral to somebody every day. And I think, you know, in a micro setting like that, you can see people thinking like, gosh, you know, I really feel like this week I need to really dedicate myself to helping out somebody that has been passing my referrals. But if they see you as the source, the center of what's going on, then I think it can really benefit for you. It really creates a benefit for you. All right, last one is out-professional the competition. I think this is more important now, if you want, especially if you're new, than ever before. What has happened in American business in the last 10 years as far as professionalism? First off, what does professionalism mean to you?
Show up, look the part, be ready, be prepared.
Okay. So if some of you, if any of you were going on an appointment right now, if I said, you know what, next door we're having interviews, and if you get selected as hometown's most professional agent, you're going to get $15,000. How many of you are ready for that right now? Raise your hand if you think you're ready for it right now. Okay. So Rodney thinks he's ready for it, and Shannon thinks, why do you think you're not ready for it?
I'm wearing jeans and shoes, so I'm certainly not ready for it.
Okay. So what does professional mean? It means a lot of different things. I would think if you are new and you're trying to build your database and build your business, if you don't look professional, then are people going to perceive you as professional?
It's gonna be harder.
It's going to be much harder. Let's just say it this way. If you look professional and you sort of act professional, are people going to move away from you because of that? I mean, there may be somebody who's like, wow, that dude wearing a shirt. You know, I mean, that's rare. So to me, like, what's your name here in the tie?
Connor.
Connor, last name?
Strange Boston.
Connor is how old? Let me guess. You are 23.
22.
22. All right. So what's the problem with being 22 and still in real estate?
Inexperience,
What else?
young.
You don't have your own house?
Yeah, there are lots of things. Can we do anything about that? Can we put him in a time machine and make him 50? No. Can we get him 22 sales tomorrow? So what can we do? Does he look more professional or less professional with a blue blazer and a tie? More professional. So at least that's a start, right? You can work on your character, you can work on your competency, you can work on your confidence, all that stuff. That's the start. If you were wearing a t-shirt that said like college or something on it and, you know, a pair of gym shorts, is anybody going to take you seriously? You know, maybe people that really know you, they might be able to overlook that. The public, though, doesn't do that. So here's what happens. So are we constantly trying to put things out to market ourselves, whether it be social media, whatever it is? So you're putting it all out there, you know, I'm Kevin and I'm whatever, I'm whoever. And so then when people finally see you, are they supposed to judge you by what you look at, what you look like? Are they supposed to do that?
No.
No, what's that called? It's usually associated with race. What do we call that? Prejudice. We are prejudging. We don't know, but we're looking, and I'm looking at you and I'm saying, well, I knew somebody that looks sort of like you, and these are the experiences that I had in the past, right? So you just have to be careful with that, and one thing you can do is try to out-professional the competition. And that has to do with like You know, when you started out, Benjamin, what time did you used to get to the office every day? What time do you get to the office now every day?
I used to get at 7, now I get at 8:15.
Yeah. I'm not very good at that. I got a lot of stuff going on, but when I started out in the business, I tried to be the first one to the office every day. You know, I always wore one of these. Do I do it every day now? No. Why can I get away with it easier than you?
Everybody does it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got credibility. It's another C. Yeah. I have credibility that maybe you haven't earned yet. Okay. Still doesn't mean I shouldn't do it. I can get away with it a little bit easier than you can.
Well, I was talking to Dean about this earlier too. Like I was thinking of, I'm sure most of you guys have a financial advisor. Like I don't know a financial advisor that works from their couch or honestly dresses like I do. Like they're almost always dressed to the nines and they go to the office and they work because they're a hired professional. It's important to look at our jobs the same way, because it is. I mean, this isn't just a hobby that you want to be building a business.
You know, for example, if you have a client, buyer client, and they've written the contract or they're trying to get pre-qualified, let's say, and you sit them down and they meet Nate. They could be like, well, yeah, I like the Grateful Dead, so I think that's going to be cool. But he's got the tie, he's got the suit, pants, he's got the fancy socks. I'm thinking instantly. I'm thinking this guy's not. I'm not going to have to test his knowledge because he looks the part. I've used this example for those of you who've been in one of my classes. So when you go to the doctor, right? I mean, can there be some sensitive things that happen in the doctor's office, right? And a lot of times, do you know, have you researched that doctor? Do you know a whole lot about him? Criminal record, anything there? And yet they're like, all right, putting on the glove, and they're going to town. But if they came in and looked, like, I'm not going to pick on Z again, let's see who else we pick. And like if he came in, right, and he's like, all right, lube, and I'd be like, wait a minute, let's see some paperwork on you, but if he's wearing a lab coat and he's walking, talking, it'd be interesting to see how he can pull it off. I bet he could.
I think I can do it.
So again, the point again is, if you increase your level of professionalism, that is one thing that you can control very easily. Certainly your appearance, and then just how you behave and act. And I think you will get big dividends on this because people don't want to refer somebody that might. I want to get positive feedback from any referral that I give. I don't want somebody to come and say, "Hey, you sent that to me, whatever. I think you might have stolen a wallet." So, all right, what kind of questions, suggestions, and then we'll close this thing up. What about now?
Last thing on number 10, and this really goes for all of it. People want, we're in a relational business, and we want to be able to relate to people and be relatable and all those kinds of things. And yes, and of course, I'm a believer in working with friends and family. I think those are great advocates for you, and they should be, but you still actually obviously have to be a professional in the situation. You have to remember that people, your clients and your referral sources, they want to relate to you, but they're hiring you to be led through something. And so you have to think of the type of professionals and salespeople and leaders in your life who you look up to. And I would suggest you probably take a few pages out of their book.
Yeah. All right, any questions from anybody? Really appreciate you being here. Hopefully, we'll have probably have some good stories next week about some dumb things that we've all done in the real estate business. The whole idea of this class is maybe we can share some pitfalls that we've seen people fall into, and then you can circumvent that as you build your success in your business. So there you have it. Thanks for being here.